Hey, it's Greg here, and I'm back with the third video of my ALM System Coupe series. And today, the video is going to be on the Squid Sample. And it's kind of funny to say because it has an L in it. But anyway, so the Squid Sample is an 8-channel Eurorack sampler. Channels 6, 7, and 8 have volts per octave input, and you have CV input that you can assign to pretty much any parameter. You can sample straight in with line level or Eurorack, and you can send out triggers based on sample playback, as well as there are 4 outputs with group channels 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, or you can send a total mix out. Whatever you have sending out of these outputs here, it will remove them from the mix. You also have a USB port for loading your samples on a USB drive. It comes with a USB drive with a bunch of sample banks on it, and when it's playing back samples, it's playing it back from internal RAM, I believe, so it has a very fast playback latency. So this video won't be the most in-depth video. If you want to see something more in-depth, check out ALM's own channel, or check out DivKid or something else on YouTube. There's a bunch of videos on the Squid Sample, but I'm going to show you some of its basic features and how I use it in the System Coupe. So hope you learned something, hope you find it enjoyable, and yeah, let's get started. So first thing you're probably going to do is you're going to want to check out the sample banks, and to load them, it's just as easy as hitting the USB button, and you can scroll around and choose a sample bank. So why don't we just choose one at random here. So this one is ALM TK1, and we'll just load it. You can load just single samples, but we're going to load the whole sample bank. So now to get audio out, we have to patch something up quick. Okay, so I've got it patched to the output, and now I can play the samples. And I can play them just by clicking this. I can change the channel. And these last channels, you can use volts per octave to change the pitch. And on these channels, when the little tuning fork shows up like this, that's when you know it is the same pitch as original. And you've got a ton of parameters. Let's go to let's just use channel 3. You've got quality. You can control the bit depth, bit rate, and the speed of playback, which on these channels is volts per octave. So let's say if you were on channel 6, which has volts per octave, it has bit depth, bit rate, and quantize. So you can actually quantize it to 12-tone scale. And then you've also got envelope control. You've got the level, the attack, decay, and you can send an end of sample trigger to the trigger input. So in the loop settings, so you can have it loop forwards, you can have it loop forwards and then backwards, and you can also have it loop based on a gate rather than a trigger. If you loop it just like this, I can have it just play back forever. It just immediately starts playing again. You've got cues. So cues are changing the start point, the end point, and the loop point. But if you go into function and hit cues, you can actually chop a sample up in the one sample slot. And when you chop it up, you could have up to, I think, 64 different cue sets, and you can have it play them back randomly. You can have it just play in order, or you can have it controlled by CV as well. There's also a reverse function. So if I hit reverse, it just plays the sample in reverse. And there's a bunch of other functions. CV control you can put to anything, and recording is really easy, and you can just basically plug anything in here and sample it to a channel. Okay, so I have my OPZ plugged into my MIDI now, as I find the Squid Sample really shines when you can trigger it externally with a sequencer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to patch each channel of the MMT to one of the inputs on the Squid Sample. Okay, so I changed my mind a little bit. I just patched 1 through 6 with MMT, and the last 2 channels are going to be pitch controlled by the OPZ. Let's just set up a little bit of a pattern going now. So now we've got a little bit of a pattern going. And I can edit parameters now that it's playing. You can always edit stuff on the fly, and it works really well. So let's say you wanted to change a parameter of all of it at once. So you can change them like normal. This is just going to change the channel that I'm on right now. But if I hold the channel button and function and then twist this, it changes everything. And let's say I want to put this back to being long. Now I have changed just channel 8 to be long again. So let's say I want to sample in and I want to overwrite what I have on this 8th channel here. So it's pretty easy. All I have to do is plug the signal input in, and I'll plug my OPZ's output here. So now I've got my OPZ plugged in to the input, and let's say I want to monitor the input. You just press function and record. It's quite easy. I can raise the level here. It will send the monitor output to 7 and 8. So I'm just going to plug that in here. And now if I play a note, it's coming out of my OPZ. Make it a little louder so it's easier to hear. And if I want to sample it, it's as easy as pressing record. It's armed and it's set to replace, and then I'll just press it again. And then I'll press record again. So now it has sampled that in. And if I press channel 8, I'll turn off monitoring. And you can see it's not starting perfectly. So I go to cues. I can zoom in with function and the knob. I wonder if you guys can even see the screen. I just realized my cables are a little bit in the way. And then I'll move the start point. Perfect. So now if I play the sequence I had going, it will now be playing my new sample. Okay, so you can kind of see how easy it is to sample in. The next thing I'm going to show you is we're going to unpatch this all, and what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to sample in, automatically sample in 8 drum hits. Okay, so now I have a patch where I have the MIDI out running the clock and the run of Pamela's new workout. So I have an output here that will simultaneously trigger changing the channel as well as triggering record for the sampler. And I have my OPZ. I have 8 different samples that will play throughout the bar. So all I have to do is press play, and it's perfectly synced to perfectly sample 8 samples from my OPZ onto the Squid Sample in each channel. So all I have to do is press play like this. And now I'll turn off monitoring. So you see it was as easy as pressing play, and I've got perfect samples set up. So yeah, I would recommend you try. You could also do this without, let's say you want to sample stuff from within your Eurorack system. you just clock the triggers for the different samples from Pamela's new workout, and then also just sync up the clocks of your sample in and your channel changer. And yeah, it's as easy as that. Now you have a full sample pack. And now that we do, you can mess around with it. I have a little patch here just to show you to mess around. I have my samples in. I have triggers coming out of Pamela's new workout. I have set an end of sample trigger on channel 6. So if I go envelope enough times, I can put an end trigger, and we'll just go to on. And now at the end of this sample, it triggers channel 5. And then besides that, we've got pitch coming out of Quaid Megaslope, which is malted into all 3 channels. So you can just mess around, and this is as good of a time as ever to show you how you can use CV to control parameters. So I'll just why don't we just take a bipolar signal out of Quaid Megaslope. So it's kind of related to the output of pitch. And I'll just go to channel 1 and I'll assign it to the bits. All you have to do, you can go to any parameter and just hit assign. And now if I want, I can hit function then assign, and I can attenuate it down. And I can also change the offset. So I think actually what I'm going to show you next is sampling in something a bit melodic, just into one channel, and just show you how you can kind of mangle a sample or slow it down and just kind of mess with it like a digital tape loop. But yeah, let's just see what we can get out of that after I unpatch this. So I've got my keyboard plugged in off screen, and I'm just going to record into channel 1. So I'll just show you kind of what you can do with messing up loops. So I'm going to use this as a metronome. Okay, so I should have a sample in channel 1 now. So now what I can do is show you how to mess with cues. So I want this to loop. So let's just get it to the start. So function, and this zooms in, and we're going to move the start point. And then we want to move the end point. So yeah, we've got it pretty much looping pretty nice now. And let's say you just want, you could, if you want, you can slow it down. And I find that, so the Squid Sample makes stuff sound lo-fi on purpose. And one thing you can do to get rid of a bit of the lo-fi-ness is you can run it through the filter. So I'm going to run it through the low pass. And I do like a little bit of hiss. Just a little bit of noise. I just think it sounds really good coming out of this sampler. Even the notch of the bandpass sounds really good too. And it also sounds really good when you reverse it. I'm a sucker for reverse sounds. But yeah, you could really just turn this into an ambient loop where you could add, you could just let it drone. You could modulate the filter, for instance. And I mean, even this is just sounds cool to me. Let's just take, oh wait, right? But what else can you do? Let's say I get this to stop looping. So what I can do is I can go into, let's zoom out a little bit. We can chop this up into Q sets. So I'm going to chop it up into 4. So how you do that is you go function, Qs, and I can just split, and now it's split it into 2, and I can split it again, and now it's split into 4. Oh, let's play it forwards. Let's go back, put the speed back to what we had it before. Let's get rid of this modulation on the filter just for just demonstration purposes. So we got and if I want to adjust let's say I want to adjust the 4th Q set, I can adjust the start loop and end points of each one. You just have to scroll through them by going function Q and choose which one it is. But let's say each time I want it to trigger with PAMs, and I can have it step through them. So now I can have it step through them, or I can have it choose random. Or you can have it even, you could assign CV to this if you have something going into the CV input. There's all kinds of ways you can have it choose them, or now it will just play the first one. But yeah, let's say if I put it on random, and then I have it play them in reverse, you can just see what happens, and it's fun to do that. We can put this back, our modulation back, and I could also just slow it down. And what I could do is I could send an LFO from channel 2. So I've got LFO, a triangle LFO coming out of channel 2, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign it to the start point. And I'm going to modulate this so it doesn't send as much. Function, assign, and now I can attenuate it down. So now it's really kind of sending a random start point. And if I wanted, I could send another LFO to the loop point. And I'll assign this to the loop point. And I'm also going to attenuate this. And I'm going to offset it. Let's just see if I can hear it happening. But yeah, we've got a little bit of a rhythmic kind of thing going here. I could sample drums into other channels. I could even have this. I could have this triggered so that it's perfectly in time. And yeah, we're just kind of made a little bit of an interesting thing. I could slow the whole thing down with Pam's master tempo. And I think this sounds kind of interesting even. So yeah, I hope that kind of shows you a little bit what you can do with Pam's. I chose to chop up something melodic, but let's say if you wanted to, you recorded in a break beat at the right tempo, and you could just have it chopped up, and you could have it every time it triggers, trigger the next part in the break beat, or you could have it trigger randomly through the break beat. There's really so much you can do with the Squid Sample. Yeah, it's just trying to show you a little something that I have been doing with my System Coupe. So that's it for this video. And the next one is going to be on the MCO and the MCF. I'm going to film that, and it should be up the next day after this one. So yeah, one more video for my System Coupe series, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one, and thanks for watching.